Howdy, my YouTube camper friends out there. It's your favorite Star Wars Penguin, Bob here. And let me say hello to a few people already here, RPGs out there, and anybody else that have to be watching and lurking, that's great too. We got a, this is my first time streaming Penguin Thoughts, my podcast. And we are actually going to do a thing called Star Wars on Trial. Now, a couple months ago, you may have heard of him, may not. There is a YouTuber named Chris Gore. He's actually more than just a YouTuber. Back in the day, he was on Attack of the Show on G4 TV. So he's been around for a long time, and he runs a thing called Film Threat. It used to be a magazine, but basically Film Threat is this website that he reviews movies, especially indie movies and things like that. And so apparently he decided to get with a bunch of YouTubers a couple months ago and do a kind of a mock trial. Now, he's taking this very seriously, so I'm taking this very seriously as well. He's decided in his critics' court to put Star Wars on trial. Now, I've seen some of the trial. I wasn't able to watch all of it, and that's why I was kind of wanting to do some of this to go through all this and kind of like maybe get familiar with what's going on and what's actually happened to one of the most beloved IP franchises out there. Not just geeks and nerds love Star Wars, even just normies. People that don't really get into like geek and nerdy and comics book stuff and like me, but just like watching Star Wars movies and like watching Star Wars and like The Mandalorian and things like that and like A New Hope. So this trial is about whether or not Lucasfilm, aka Disney, has murdered the Star Wars franchise. Now, I over the next several weeks, I'm going to be basically rewatching and adding my Penguin perspective or my commentary on the actual trial itself. And just to let you know, I am a Christian Penguin, so I normally don't use any type of profanity or cuss words or anything, and I am using a extension in my web browser here called Advanced Profanity Filter, because I don't like to use cussing or profanity. And normally how I watch stuff like on Netflix or YouTube or anything like that, I use this filter to try to filter out the profanity. And what it does is I have to have my closed captioning subtitles on, which we will do for this video. And it will, for the most part, about maybe 85% of the time, it will catch the bad stuff and it'll temporarily mute the audio and replace it with the word that I put in. I put a word in my filter called potato. So every time there's like a bad word, it replaces that word with potato on the screen. So it should be kind of funny at times. But nevertheless, it's also not 100% foolproof. So my disclaimer is, if something in this video is cussing or something like that or offends you, I apologize right up front. That's not the point of this. The point of this is to actually kind of toss my Penguin emotions out about the Star Wars IP and listen to both sides of the argument here. The prosecution side and the defendant side, and try to enhance like some critical thinking and logical thinking about whether or not Disney has murdered Star Wars or not. So let's get into it. But before I switch over to that video, just what is Penguin Thoughts, you wonder? Good question. Here's what it is.
You're listening to Penguin Thoughts. These are the thoughts that penguins are thinking when they were thinking that they were thinking about the thoughts they were thinking when they were thinking them. That is, we think.
All right. And like I said before, I am going to put this, the audio up on Spotify on my podcast there. So if you are listening into this podcast and you hear it go silent for a second, it's because the profanity filter is probably filtering out something. So if you really want to see what's happening, I encourage you to watch it on YouTube, where I've got the actual video. It'll be up after this live stream to rewatch. Or I do encourage you to go over to, if you want to go over to Film Threat YouTube channel or filmthreat.com, which those links are all down in the description of the video, of Chris Gore and Alan Ng, and you can watch all the trial itself, or you could stay here with me and watch this. Nevertheless, I'm giving my perspective on it. I felt like I wanted to discuss this because I am a big lover of Star Wars, always have been. And my personal opinions, I do agree with the verdict. I have seen the verdict, but I won't share that until we get to that video. Of course, I guess you could always go over to Film Threat and jump ahead and watch. But nevertheless, for me, I have slowly watched not just Star Wars, but Star Trek and all these beloved IPs that I love so much get fundamentally destroyed by a political agenda that I don't agree with. Because in my opinion, the pop culture should just be good stories, something you could turn on and kind of unplug from the stress and worries of the day and just enjoy a good sci-fi movie or TV series or something like that. Anyway, so let's get into it. I'm going to go ahead and start this, and we'll just watch it, and I'll pause it periodically to comment. We're going to go no more than about 2 hours, so if we don't get through all this today, just know that we'll pick up where we left off next week. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to do this again, if I'm going to do this twice a week or just on Wednesdays. So I haven't decided that yet. I'll let you know. Okay, so here we go. This is the Film Threat Critics Court, Star Wars on Trial, Day 1. This is where they're going to read the charges or the indictment against Lucasfilm and so forth. Disney Lucasfilm. Not Lucasfilm, but Disney Lucasfilm. What it's become after Disney acquired it. There's Alan Ng. He's the editor-in-chief of Film Threat. He's also the court clerk.
All rise.
Oh, they're treated just like a court. And there's the Honorable Judge Chris Gore.
You may be seated.
He's the owner and producer of Film Threat, and he's also the one that
Counselor Ng,
put Star Wars on trial.
Yes, Your Honor.
we're here today to read the charges against Lucasfilm Disney for the murder of the Star Wars franchise. Do you have the documents in front of you, Mr. Ng?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Excellent. Some of you out there who are watching this might look on this as something of a joke. This is not a joke. This is a jury of fans who will be assessing what Lucasfilm and Disney have done to the Star Wars franchise over the past nearly a decade. Some fans are upset. They've expressed their dissatisfaction with the handling of the Star Wars franchise.
I'm one of them.
We are here finally to put this to rest. You watching now, viewers, you are the jury. You will decide. And over the next weeks, we will go over all these charges, and the prosecution and the defense will have this debate.
I want to listen to both sides.
I hope that you take this seriously. I hope you come into this with an open mind. I hope you look at all the evidence that will be presented by our prosecutors and the defense. Today, we'll be looking at all of the charges that are being...
Let me just say this. I definitely want to listen to both sides. I want to try to look at this objectively instead of subjectively. I know how I feel, but I want to leave my emotions out of it. And I want to see if there's an argument on either side that validates the way Star Wars, the direction that Disney Lucasfilm took Star Wars. So, continuing, with that said, I want to keep an open mind. I encourage you to do the same.
Being filed. There are 9 charges. We will go over them all today. The trial begins 1 week from today. This is merely a reading of the charges.
Yeah, and just so you know, there are links to the actual court documents, which, by the way, was really impressive to me, that they made up actually court documents. And I'll show them here in a minute when Alan starts reading the counts. But there's also a link to today's Star Wars on Trial video on the Film Threat YouTube channel. All that's down in the description. So go ahead, and I encourage you, if you want to subscribe to Film Threat, and we'll go from here.
Mr. Ng, are you prepared to read the charges?
Yes, I am.
Okay, give me a moment here. And I just want to say also a comment to those of you. When Mr. Ng said, "All rise," I don't care if you were in your car. I don't care if you're home on your couch. I don't care if you're watching this on your iPhone. Out of respect to the court, when Mr. Ng says, "All rise," I expect you to stand. I expect everyone participating in this trial to take it very seriously.
Well, you can't tell, but when I stand,
I think it's time,
much
sir.
taller than what I am now.
Yes, Your Honor. One note here.
Yes.
Would you please instruct the audience to hit that like button and subscribe?
In what trial, in what courtroom does anyone hit the like button?
In this one, they do.
I'm
All right.
liking it anyway.
It's time to get things started. You are here. Prepare yourself for Critics Court Star Wars on Trial.
Forgot to turn on the closed captioning. That's cool. That's Mickey's hands. My beloved fans. Cool intro. I think this is I hope this doesn't dig me.
Mr. Ng, before we present the the charges in this case, I would like to bring on our court sketch artist, Mr. Blackwood. Mr. Blackwood will be providing sketches of these proceedings. He will be drawing sketches and pictures that will be depicting some of the charges, some of the people involved in this case. Mr. Blackwood, if you would, perhaps give us a sample of some of what you'll be drawing for us during the proceedings. Mr. Blackwood will be muted. And if you can also follow him on, I'm told I should mention that you can follow him on Instagram. I believe those are IKEA chairs, if memory serves. And you can follow at Blackwood_PDX. There you are. So follow, you'll be able to watch Mr. Blackwood draw during the proceedings. Okay, it's time for us to get started. Oh, and by the way, we will be throwing up your comments, questions, and we'll be saving super chats to the end. So throw your super chats in. We're going to go through all 9 charges. We'll be discussing them briefly after as we move on.
We may not go through the super chat.
So
part. We'll just probably stop after the court.
So bear with us as we want you to absorb all these charges. Mr. Ng, you have the documents in front of you with the charges. I have the documents here.
Yeah, I got the documents too.
Let's look at the first. I should mention that this is case number 1138.
Look at that. This looks official. I'm not a lawyer, but I have seen.
Let's take a look at charge number 1. Mr. Ng, if you would read it for me, bring up that document for me. Charge number 1. Charge number 1 is fraudulent representation. Tell us exactly what is meant by this. If you could read charge number 1.
Yes, charge number 1. Lucasfilm is charged with fraudulent representation. Lucasfilm knowingly set expectations that the original trilogy cast would reunite in The Force Awakens. Fans were led to believe that Han, Luke, and Leia would reunite. Fraudulent representation. Failure to reunite legacy characters in the Disney Star Wars sequel trilogy. Disrespectful demise of Han, Luke, and Leia. Negligent and disrespectful disregard for legacy characters. The death in Han Solo, one of the worst deaths in cinematic history. Yeah. Bait and switch.
I believe, Mr. Ng, your reading comprehension is off here. It said the death of Han Solo.
Did I not say that?
If you could be more accurate with your reading of charges, I think it's okay. And if you could zoom in for me so that we could only see charge number 1 on the screen. I want everybody to know this because what's happening in the coming weeks,
this document
we will see people on 2 sides of this argument. We're going to see people for the defense and people for the prosecution. The prosecution will argue this charge, and members of the defense will fight against that charge. And you, the jury, will determine what you think of this. Mr. Ng, could you elaborate on this?
On which part?
On charge number 1. Please elaborate for the courtroom and everyone watching. Please elaborate.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we were led as fans of Star Wars that when the announcement at Star Wars Celebration that Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, and Carrie Fisher would appear in the next Star Wars sequel, that we were promised not only their appearance, but that they would appear together at least in one scene.
Yeah,
and in fact, this did not happen. In fact, we only saw Mark Hamill at the last 30 seconds of the movie.
Right.
Reprehensible, and the people feel like they basically the old bait and switch. We were promised something, we spent our money on the movie, and it did not come about.
Yeah,
I'm curious what our members of the jury think of this charge, where they stand. We will go to comments from our jury before we get to charge number 2. Jury, Aid Robertson, £4.99, says Judge Frank in the house. I assume they mean the stupid joke now of Frank Gore that now I've seen going around the internet.
Yeah, they keep calling him
It was a
Frank Gore
mistake.
for some reason.
By a man named Jay, also known as Drunk 3PO, who has nothing to do with this case, called me Frank on accident, and I assume some of you are making light of that.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, Aid, for the £4.99 and acknowledging Drunk 3PO's mistake. I prefer to call him Jeff 3PO. Moving
Jeff
on.
3PO.
John Manalang has been a member for 9 months. Threat level 2 says, Judge Gore, I am the law. You bet. Last week's Miss Super Chat, Robert McDonald for 20. Good job. Thank you so much for that. JGR Projects for 10. In the criminal justice system, the people are represented by 2 separate groups. The fandom who investigates IP crime and the pundits who prosecute the offenders. These are their stories.
Yeah, that's
David
like,
Nelson
Law
for
and Order.
$4.99. Here's money for the fantastic
I haven't
idea.
watched a whole
All
lot of
hail the
that.
199. We've
Well,
just
familiar
started with
enough
charge
the
number
way
1.
The show goes.
We're just beginning, folks. New members, Hayden 75, Miranda Sinestra, also a new member, Eva Spawn for $9.99, Justice for Luke.
I think I'm gonna try to see if
We'll
skip
see.
through these super chats.
We'll see. Crucify 50. Love the idea, and I'm guilty as sin. Keep an open mind. Became a
If you wanna see
YouTube
the
member.
super chats,
Thank you
can
for
always
that.
go watch the original video on Film Thread.
Float. Thanks, order lightsabers and to be you,
I'm trying to
Mr.
get
Blackwood,
to,
doing here. How is this is well, there you are.
Who is that?
There you are. Mr. Blackwood, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Blackwood.
That's a
Okay.
picture of somebody.
Back to our regular setup here. Mr. Ng. Here we go.
Yes,
More of these. We're going to get through these quickly because I want to get to all the charges. We have 9 total charges to get through. By the way, after we're done reading these, I plan to share a Google Doc in the description of the show with all of these charges.
Yeah, that's
We are
the,
looking for people to argue the
that's this document
defense.
right here.
I have a few people lined up.
And that's
Unfortunately, there are
done in my
more people that
description as well.
would prefer to argue for the prosecution than the defense. We're looking for defenders. So there you are. All right. Let's get through these comments very quickly, folks. Very quickly. BMC CB for
Yeah, we're gonna skip through them very
what is
quickly.
that? EasyX. Remember,
check Karu.
push. You could pause. Nick
I wanna
Skywalker.
get to the point to
Mr.
where
Sif,
they
cheating
start
person.
continuing on with the court case.
0.9% my facts project then by DM / to create chat comments faster after working
I
something
don't know
Matt
where they picked
Not
it
a
up from.
out.
Is it here,
And
maybe?
this is also an opportunity for both sides of the fandom to talk to each other. If there's something that can come of this, more than anything, what I would like
Yeah.
to see is
Right.
people that disagree.
Bring us
I would
together.
like to see them debate respectfully.
So
We'll
we
see.
can
We'll see
agree,
how
disagree.
respectfully that is. Thank you, Matt, for that. Geek Chat 1 for 10. I will present.
Shocker, not everybody has to agree with everybody else's viewpoint. It is okay to have a different opinion as long as you agree disagreeably. And back in the day, I remember when the original Star Wars stuff was going around, it was normal for us to just argue about, did Han shoot first, or did why was Han really blinded by when he got cased in the carbonite? That type of stuff. Cool. Welcome back, RPG, and glad that the connection's working good. Anyway, let's continue on here. I just wanted to make sure that we understood. I agree with the judge here that he's saying that this should open up a discussion, which it can, and we don't have to all have the same opinion or agree. And for someone to come out and say, well, you have to believe the way I do, that's wrong. If you enjoy Star Wars the way it is right now, that's great. If you don't, that's great too. just, like I said, agree disagreeably. So anyway, let's continue on, and we're going to try to push through these super chats that he's been doing so we can get to the actual counts.
The defense sent an email back when this first came up in October. Mr. Geek Chat 1, would you be skeptical? Chef film. Thank you, Chef.
I'm not sure exactly
And
where it gets back
remember,
up, but
we sometimes talk to my Alan is Mr. Ng.
Okay, wait a minute. Here we
He
go.
is currently in the courtroom. Mr. Ng.
That's the artist. There's Mr. Ng, the court clerk.
And if I could ask people in the courtroom to please settle. I'm hearing a lot of background noise. I wonder if you could let's get that. Let's here.
Silence in the court, please.
Can we
hit that like button?
All right, let me let's get the charges back up here. I'm almost through.
Yeah,
I'm almost through this, folks.
Here.
I appreciate jury. I appreciate your patience with this. The bypass compressor for $199. Please do me justice, jury, please. And
How's
thank
that?
you for the
Any better?
wonderful artwork on your avatar there. Attic Hatch Sound for Bob Coel for $5. Will content from the documentary The People versus articles, expert witnesses, presentation, a good time. If it's slightly under, that's okay too. The prosecution will go first. The defense will go second.
How about now?
And
Is
then
any
we
better?
will switch to open debate. Saving ground. This is George Lucas. I will say this.
Cool. All right.
Perhaps like some judges, and that's the way it is, folks.
And I'm pushing.
Says Carrie
through
Fisher's new right.
I'm not
much
wanting to go
of
through all these
Rosenfeld-
super chats. I'm just wanting to.
I would encourage.
get back
we
to
all
the
know
court proceedings,
people to
which is
think
like
that-
reading the charges, and I don't
be-
remember where. I don't know
that
where that's
other
at.
channels, maybe
I
some
actually
Star
haven't
Wars
seen
channel.
The very beginning of this.
Wouldn't that be interesting? Echo Base Network, where are you? You should be important. Serious. Presenting.
Okay, come on.
Put that banner up.
No, it's.
All right, wait a
Could you
minute.
lose that banner at the bottom, please? My
Why don't you just
apologies.
delete
Cool,
that
thanks,
banner
Tracy.
up?
No, it's got to be.
I know you're listening in the background. I appreciate that. Charge 2, breaking canon.
Charge number 2, breaking canon. Mr. Ng, can you please explain?
Charge number 2.
Glad you're
Lucasfilm is
here, by
charged
the way.
with breach of contract with its fans, breaking canon and changing the terms of George Lucas's lore and mythology. Do you want me to read the rest of it, or?
Please
Just
elaborate
leave it
on
All
that.
right.
Well,
So
that's
by
fine.
breaking
You can listen
canon,
to your normal
we're talking about the
Penguin.
fact
I'm gonna
that
be trying to do this
that,
about the same time every week.
created
2
more
o'clock on
canon
Wednesdays.
issues rather than solving them with interesting storytelling. What happened to the Force?
At least for the next
Gender
several weeks.
definition of the Force. For example, the Force is female. Rewriting history.
Ugh.
Removing Slave Leia and Slave One. Created more canon issues. Okay, and we got that. But the idea here being that they have moved away from George Lucas's.
Yeah, I just fired it up last night and didn't have to do anything. It just started working again. I'm wondering if there wasn't just something wrong with my account temporarily for a while there, but now I'm able to stream a lot on YouTube again. So awesome. Praise God. Anyway, here is also, like I said, all this, the links are down in my description for like this document the film threat did for the charges. We are now right now on the count number 2, which is the fraudulent misuse of canon. So you can actually go through and read the legal document they created for this. Now, granted, this being a mock trial, putting Star Wars on trial. I'm not a lawyer, but this looks pretty legit. I've seen enough legal documents in my life to kind of know what they look like, are supposed to look like. So it's really kind of cool. This is really impressive. Kudos on Chris Gore doing this. So anyway, let's get back to it.
His vision from his philosophy regarding the Force, and have essentially turned the Force into beings with telekinetic powers. And so we do not have the Star Wars that we were promised, and the Star
Beings
Wars
with
that George
telekinetic
Lucas
powers,
had
huh?
originally created. And also to add to that, rewriting of George Lucas's lore and mythology.
Yeah, by the way, unlike some IPs, it's pretty simple to understand what is considered canon. And that would be normally the stuff that George Lucas made because George Lucas created Star Wars. It's pretty simple. Anyway, that's what they're charging.
Again, Mr. Ng with the snickering. I'm not sure you understand the level of seriousness with this case. I do have a gavel, and I am willing to use the gavel. If you would just please take this with the level of seriousness that this subject deserves.
Yes.
Mr. Blackwood, our sketch artist,
I want to take this
if at a certain point
listen to both
you've
sides.
completed a sketch that you feel worth showing in prominence and will put you full screen, could you note that in the private chat, Mr. Blackwood? And thank you for your artwork there. I'm going to go to the next charge, and we will be breaking that up, going back to your comments, questions, and super chats. But I want to get through at least 2 more charges. Let's show Mr. Blackwood full screen here for a moment, if we could. Look, that's
Lando Calrissian.
some lovely art, Mr. Blackwood.
Cool.
That's
cool. He must
fantastic.
have,
A beloved character.
Drew that, I
A
guess.
beloved character from the Star Wars universe.
Yes.
Lando Calrissian, played by Billy D. Williams.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Blackwood.
Lando Calrissian.
Moving on.
Boy, he was a scoundrel. Wasn't
Moving
he?
on to charge number 3.
Okay, charge number 3. Franchise neglect and failure to.
If you would read the third charge, Mr. Ng.
Yes, I would.
Plan. Okay.
Charge number 3. Lucasfilm is charged with negligence in the handling of its franchise. Failed to have a plan. By failing to properly plan out the story for the sequel trilogy, the result was a final trilogy that satisfied no one, resulting in an unsatisfying conclusion. By failing to have a proper plan out of the story sequel trilogy, the results were a final film that was dramatically story. What is that? I'm reading this stuff. They hired writers.
Mr. Ng! Mr. Ng!
I'm reading these notes. Notes are just not.
Could you please read the charges? This is very important. There are people listening to this that are in their cars driving.
Yep.
And for those people who are listening, I would like Mr. Ng to read the full charges of the case. Mr. Ng, please continue.
Full charge of the kidneys.
Negligent in the handling of the Star Wars franchise.
It said the full charges of the kidneys. That's why I love this profanity filter. It sometimes does not get it right. Same way with the this is YouTube subtitles, closed captioning. So that's funny. Anyway.
Failed to have a plan. By failing to properly plan out the story for the sequel trilogy, the result was a final film that was dramatically storytelling. Hiring hack writers, decanonization of the EU while plagiarizing old plot points, failed to reach the box office potential the franchise had, milking the franchise to death, rehashing of previous tropes, nostalgia bait, lack of excellence in storytelling, breach of verbal contract with George Lucas.
Yep.
The Thrawn series, hiring hack writers, decanonization of the EU while plagiarizing old points, failed to further the character story arcs, and including merchandising, the horrible, horrible merchandising that we.
By the way, for those of you that may or may not know, when George Lucas decided to sell Lucasfilm and the rights to Star Wars to Disney, he presented to Kathleen Kennedy and Lucas and the people that at Disney his kind of like layout or outlines of episodes 7, 8, and 9, the sequel trilogy as we know it. They obviously did not follow his plan at all because he was going to do, one of them was going to be a lot about the wills of the Force. So needless to say, they didn't follow his verbal contract, I guess. He was under the understanding, from what I watched of him talking about things like this and other people, that he was under the understanding that they were going to kind of follow his roadmap. And when he turned it over to them, or at least go in a similar direction. They obviously didn't do that, and that's what this charge is talking about.
We currently have.
That's charge number 3. We got 6 more counts for the indictment.
So what we are saying here is that they winged it. That they had no plan. J.J. Abrams created The Force Awakens to bring fans back into the fold and introduce new fans, and then shifted directions with Rian Johnson, who had gone with his idea of where the Star Wars universe should go, and then negated all that with The Rise of Skywalker. Also, they have no idea what they're doing over there. The idea of excellence is no longer a word that we can associate with Star Wars and this whole Thrawn thing. Your Honor, that is charge number 3.
Charge 4. Here we go, baby.
Yes. Your Honor, you're muted.
Charge number 4. Mr. Ng, could you please read charge number 4? And just to be clear, that mistake that I just made is no different than many of the other technical problems and issues that you have in any court case. So I would say that we're up in line with most of your modern court cases. When you watch any court televised live, you're going to have technical mistakes, and we appreciate the jury's patience with our. This is not a television production. This is a real courtroom, and you are the real jurors. And I appreciate your patience with us. Charge number 4, sir. Mr. Ng, could you continue, please?
Yes. Charge number 4. Lucasfilm is charged with flagrant violation of Star Wars canon with the injection of current-day politics into Star Wars lore by introducing current-day politics into what should have been timeless storytelling, adding politics to storytelling, threatening audiences with accusations of racism, forcing diversity,
putting in politics.
Again, the removal of Slave Leia and Slave One. And instead of adhering to the goals of okay.
This, first of all, look, I am seeing there's a typo here. I see two sentences buttered up. It should be a timeless classic or a timeless story. Yeah. I see typos in this document. Mr. Ng, post this court proceedings. Would you please go through the document, or have one of your colleagues at Film Threat go through the document to correct some of these spelling errors? We're not going to be taken seriously. We're not going to be taken seriously if these charges are not perfect grammatically speaking. Mm-hmm. I think it's very important, and I think the jury would agree with me.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. The second paragraph are notes versus the actual charges.
And look, this is my promise to the jury: is we are going to share this document in the link in the description. Yeah. You will have access to the full document.
That link to that document I just showed you. This document
and right Mr. Ng will, in the next few days, is going to go over it with a fine-tooth comb and correct any errors. I promise you. If this is to be taken seriously,
as well as
it's very important that this be clear, spelled out, so anyone can understand it. Let's go to our chat before we go to charge number 5. I would like to see what members of the jury are thinking. I'm going to take this for a second. Mr. Blackwood, I'm going to put you full screen because I see some very interesting artwork here. If you would not mind sharing that with us.
He's my favorite.
There you are. Going to your chat comments and questions here. We are about halfway through.
Look at that. He's been drawing this stuff as things going on.
That looks phenomenal. That's an X-Wing. I wonder if it's from
shot by a TIE fighter.
The original trilogy, the sequels. There you are.
What's this?
There you are. To your chat comments and questions before we move on to charge number 5.
Yeah, really good artwork. It's amazing.
Justice Butt Crack Media. First of all, I can't believe you made me say that in my courtroom. Hail Justice.
All right, it's passed through.
Lord Thoth has been a member for 6 months. Or do you mean the?
No, that's Pizza the Hut. Pizza the Hut from like Spaceballs. Because if you look right here, it's got a little face on him. It looks like pizza, but it's got to be Pizza the Hut. That's hilarious. But he is very talented. Anyway, I'm sorry. This is supposed to be serious. But this little penguin can't help from laughing. Yeah, Pizza the Hut and Spaceballs ate himself. He was so good tasting. Well, you know, pizza is awesome. I'm sorry, but this little penguin loves pizza. Anyway, let's continue on. We're going to push through and try to get through these little super chats that he's reading. If you really want to read the super chats or go through them, you can always go through the original video on Film Threat. But for me, I'm more interested in the actual what's happening in the court. It's what I want to watch.
The court is in. Joanne says, guilty, guilty.
Well,
off
there's
with
Leia. Good that he's we can actually I'll pause temporarily when he changes to a different picture because he is really good at this stuff, and he's doing this all by hand on the tablet. That's really kind of cool. Good court artist
with their heads. Hooligan S3 for $9.99. Lax 2 of the jury. Might I remind? Biases. I understand. Into the prosecution. Please have the details.
I'm skipping through
where
because of the super chat.
Thank you, Mr. Korn.
Man, look at that.
That mentioned you would like to be a part of some of the big here for $4.90. The real user. Well, I could certainly send. Thank you, sir, for your the same a toxic fan.
That's got to be an iPad.
It's important,
like
I believe, inviting people towards the prosecution. Mon Petit for $5. You could argue these as ladies and gentlemen, circulating about Mr. Ng.
And I know I've watched a couple of times when they were streaming this live, this trial, and he was in every time. So he's going to be in every one of these. So we get to see his good artwork and stuff. I think he's one of the highlights of this thing. Man, I just can't get over how good he just drew that right now.
Regarding his another case. Thank you for your
been working on some of this
generous donation. Martin Zemek for $100.
Definitely got talent.
Mr.
Blackwood.
Regarding and Larry Misnight should link to great for continuing published writer. Please send
looky there, there's a slave one right there. Boba Fett ship. Can't speak. I need more iced coffee.
What's the contact information again, Mr. Ng? It would
be filmthread.com/contact.
We have our sketch artist.
Me fast forward reminds me of when I'm testing my stream in SL. Yeah, I do that too when I'm testing testing my DJ. You're talking about me actually doing that. I didn't know if you did that or not, but I know I do that when I test my music for DJing in Second Life. Yeah, I skip around and stuff. Talking about me. But I'm doing this because those are super chats in the past. And like I said, they're all for his channel. I'm more interested in the actual court stuff. No problem. Test in world. I make sure I do because I always want to make sure that everything's working. I try to, when I test my live streams for like YouTube or Twitch or test streaming in Second Life, my DJ stuff, I always make sure that I am doing it as it's going to be if I was actually live, so that if I come across any technical issues, I can handle it. Anyway.
We could certainly use a clerk. Thank you so much for that. These proceedings will take place every Wednesday, 1 p.m.
Yeah, that looks like Jon Favreau, doesn't it? Maybe. Jon Favreau does wear glasses. I don't know if that is him or not.
Pacific time, 4 p.m. hours, 5 film. I believe
Okay,
Why?
maybe we're getting to charge number
I want to
5.
continue with the charges.
Here we go. Good.
So, Mr. Ng,
Yeah, I know you don't like to live dangerously.
let's
I'm a crazy
we are on.
penguin.
Is it charge number 5? Is the next one?
Yes, Your Honor.
I like using, stuff like C4 and stuff.
Charge number 5. If you would bring that up
In-game,
on
for
screen,
Second
Mr. Ng, and read it
Not in
for
real
us,
life.
please.
That would
Yes.
be crazy.
Charge number 5. Lucasfilm is charged with defective lore building into Star Wars by altering mystical elements of Star Wars canon. By demystifying elements of Star Wars that made the story worse. For example, Solo's last name, the Falcon's computer, Lando's robot obsession, death ceasing to matter,
Wow.
weapons charge.
They really thought
Class
this
A,
stuff
the
out.
proper use of lethal force, using a lightsaber, and blatant disregard for an elegant weapon,
Huh.
putting
Yeah,
custodians
lightsaber
in
is an
charge who
elegant
are not
weapon.
qualified for the task.
Mr. Ng, if
Obi-Wan Kenobi said that.
I
in
just
Star
need to
Wars New
implore
Hope.
you, you're reading here. Please read as accurately as you possibly can. I understand that we're shorthanded today. We do have a sketch artist, but we don't have a clerk. I want to make sure that an accurate reading of this, so that those who are listening to this, merely listening, they're listening because they're working. They're listening because they're in their cars. I want to make sure it's an accurate representation of what's on screen.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, let's get to charge number 6.
Charge 6. Blatantly disregarding and threatening fans.
Please
Charge
read
number-
charge. Okay,
Yeah,
Mr.
sorry.
Ng, please read charge number 6, sir.
Charge number 6. Lucasfilm is charged with defamation of its fan base, blatant disregard, and threatening fans. Storytelling does not appeal to a wide fan base, attacking fans and making false claims, dividing the fandom, subpar products and merchandising, lack of quality control in products and games, Slave Leia once again, the theme park without legacy characters, and the bastard of Blue Milk.
See there?
Okay, let's go
Good, you're
to
picking that. Cool.
some more comments from the jury. And thank you.
Yeah, the destruction of that blue milk. And I might add, what's going on with Star Wars theme park? What is it, Galaxy's Edge? Which is based all on the sequel trilogies? Oh, yeah. I think it's closing. Or is that the actual hotel that they made? Or maybe both. I don't know. I have to look that up.
Thank you, members of the jury, for your patience as we go through. There are 9 charges. We want to make sure that everyone
more.
understands these charges. We will make changes to the document with suggestions. Clearly, we're going to fix any grammatical errors. I promise you that we will fix grammatical errors
Yeah, they
or
did
mistakes. Some of those grammatical errors may
Like
be
we're number
Mr.
6
Ng's
right now.
reading.
Yeah, see, I like the way they
As
wrote it
I've
down.
said
You'll
before,
notice that
Mr.
we
Ng,
use a blue milk.
The smirking is not appreciated
Okay.
in this courtroom.
Duly noted.
All right, let's go through your comments and questions here. We will also have a brief recess and finish up. But let me get to your comments here. Bushin Ryu Cat for 5. Objection.
Oh, come on.
Diversity.
Let's go through the comments here.
C. True State. Zero point. PP and Poo Poo.
Take a look what Blackwood's drawing right now, though. That's baby Grogu. That's cool. Man, I tell you, I'm really liking Mr. Blackwood. I may have to go check him out.
And maybe I find it entertaining. I still would ask to please take these proceedings very seriously, as do many of the others in the jury here. Thank you, Mr. Trigger Happy. Thank you for that. Colossal style
Okay, let's keep skipping through
comments. We will read to see
the super chats here.
no questions you You
That's the
Theta
nice thing
10.
about a rewatch. I can
Start with
just
that.
skip ahead. If
Says
this was live,
subscribe.
couldn't do that.
What if Mr. Ng flashes the jury? Do you understand the time? On behalf of all are welcome. Love to my court. You may also encounter them three on the not yet. Later.
I don't want to miss
Charge
anything. I could just go to the next
Akanika has been a
chapter,
member for
bookmark,
9 months. Threat level 1.
but
Does
I don't know if there's
Blackstone
stuff in here,
have a
especially
sketch
from Mr.
of
Blackwood?
Finn? The link is in the description. Your very Blackstone has a sketch of Finn as we speak.
Oh, wait a minute. Is it Blackstone or Black? I thought it was Blackwood. My bad. If it's Blackstone, that's a cooler name, actually. But yeah, that's a sketch of what looks like maybe Finn. I don't know.
Going through these, $4.99. What are the will be?
Ooh, that's oh, not Boba Fett. That's it's not Mando. It's oh, what's her name? What's her name? Played by Katie Sackhoff. Yeah, I saw the Mandalorian helmet too. Yeah, I mean this dude's good. He's drawn quite a bit of stuff. I know this is supposed to be about Star Wars on trial, but I gotta admit, I'm simping after what he's doing with the drawings. Because they're just so cool looking. I guess maybe it's the inner geek in me. Anyway, that's oh, what's her name? I'll think of it. Katie Sackhoff's character. She played that in the Clone Wars, the animated series, and also in Mandalorian season 2 and 3. Yeah, oh, what's her name? Exactly. So I can remember. Okay, wait a minute. It's going to bother me. It's her. Who she played? She played Starbuck. I know in Battlestar Galactica, but that doesn't tell me anything. Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan Kyries. I knew I was drawing a blank, but Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan. Okay. Sorry, I had to stop and do that because it was going to drive me nuts. So that's Bo-Katan's helmet. Pretty sure that's Bo-Katan. That's cool looking, though. Man, he's good. Anyway.
But this is something the jury will decide. Just as the jury will decide the case, the jury is something as simple as you must unsubscribe from all Star Wars social media, YouTube channel.
I normally drive a fast vehicle like I do in Forza, and I get there very quickly. Doesn't take long.
Maybe something person/murder trial. Nail.
Let's see here.
Since time of the trial, thank you for the Stallone movie. Muff comments, and Eric July would also be free.
Okay, wait a minute.
Just a couple of minutes.
Okay, that we got to look at. That's Vader, baby. Oh yes, yes, Darth Vader. Spoilers, aka Anakin Skywalker. It's your fault if you don't know that by now. My, this Anakin guy, yeah, from Weird Al. Anyway.
You can take a bathroom break. During this time, this next few minutes, take a quick bathroom break. We'll be back shortly to go through the final charges and your final comments and questions. It will be a very brief break, I promise you. Thank you. Thank you for your attention. Do not go away. Do not leave the channel as we do this. We will play some videos to entertain you.
As they take a break. We'll just wait for it to come back. Sip them if you got them. Star Wars on trial. This animation animation's really cool, although it's sad. Did you notice Fuzzy died? Fuzzy died. That just makes me cry. Well, let's mute that for right now. And we'll just talk here a little bit about what's going on so far. So far, we've had 6 charges. And just to recap what they are, the first 6 is fraudulent misrepresentation for count 1. Count 2 is fraudulent misuse of canon. Count 3, negligent handling and management of the Star Wars franchise. Count 4, malicious introduction of current day politics. Count 5, demystifying the lore. And count 6, blatant disregard and threatening of fans. And then the last 3 that we're going to be doing after the break, negligent misuse of legacy characters. Count 8 is blatant misuse of expanded universe or the EU. And count 9, conspiring with and maliciously hiring activists. Wow.
Food? Yes, crunchy food. C-3POs.
New Kellogg's C-3POs. Twin rings phased together for a crunchy new force at breakfast.
Yeah, the force is with us.
A delicious part of this nutritious breakfast.
Oh,
You're
man.
always surprised with characters. I mean, in film, it's even more dramatic than it is in writing, because eventually you actually take a real person
That's the man.
and stick them into that character, and that real person brings with him or her an enormous package of reality.
Yep.
I mean, 3PO is just a hunk of plastic, and without Tony Daniels in there, it just isn't anything at all.
Yeah, he's always played 3PO.
Watch it, Tauntaun. Gotcha.
Tauntaun comes with an open belly rescue feature.
I had
Okay,
one of
Luke.
those.
As soon as I chase away that thing. Baba!
We've already hit the air with 2 stellar promotions. The first features our free action figure offer with Boss,
Boss.
Alien Bounty Hunter.
I think I had him too, isn't that?
Star Wars fun meals for your kids. A hamburger, french fries, and Coca-Cola. Imagine how much fun your kids will have.
I don't remember that. That's cool. I like these retro Star Wars commercials. Oh, man. Oh, looks like maybe we're back.
Please be seated.
And Mr. Black. No,
Court
he's
is now
Black,
back
not
in
Black,
session. I appreciate your patience during that brief recess. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Ng, where were we? Where were we? And thank you for sticking with us through the brief recess. We hope you were entertained.
Yeah, I was.
Mr. Ng, which charge?
I love it.
We are in charge number 7.
I want
Charge
me some
number
C-3PO.
7.
Anyway, gotta get serious again. Court's back in session.
Mr. Ng, if you would read charge number 7, please.
Yes, charge number 7. Lucasfilm is charged with altering classic characters of Star Wars to fix narrative problems. For example, defamation of characters. For example, Luke Skywalker, identity theft, cheapening Vader's sacrifice, altering classic characters to avoid residual.
This document must be copy edited, please, Mr. Ng.
Yeah, they've
Could
done
you
that
get one of
since.
your colleagues could you get one of your colleagues to please go through this? This is unacceptable in my courtroom. This is truly unacceptable. The members of the jury now,
That's what
over
we're on right
1,600
now.
people in our jury. I expect this motivation, the spelling of motivation, sir. This is not acceptable. please continue to read and make this out as best as you possibly can. My
They have
apologies to the jury
definitely
for
updated the
this.
Google Doc
We will correct
since
it.
this
We will
aired
correct
2
it.
months ago.
Okay. Faulty to sabotage legacy characters, intruding new conflicted and confusing characters, motivate action and arcs without working them into existing stories, direct conflict with pre-established.
This is truly unacceptable. This is truly unacceptable,
I was
Mr. Ng.
losing it.
I
Truly
agree.
unacceptable.
Keep it together,
I agree.
Alan. Keep it
This-
together.
Okay, we will share this document. I promise you. It will also be corrected in the next day. Mr. Ng, if there's someone that you have who could copy edit this,
Yeah.
this is not. If this case is to be taken seriously,
Reprehensible.
They obviously did not.
Yeah,
spell
it's not-
It's a mockery
Not
of the court.
F7, baby.
All right.
F7.
charge number 8.
Charges number 8. Decanonization of the EU.
Charge number 8. Lucasfilm is charged with breach of contract with its blatantly disregarding the expanded universe, thereby rendering irrelevant the millions of dollars consumers spent on the extended universe, making the extended universe not canon, then going on to use ideas from the extended universe. The justification of new stories that were criminally negligent dating of Star Wars with modern slang.
Now, just to clarify what they're meaning here by the expanded universe, or what we call the EU, this is stuff like their books that have been published, obviously not by George Lucas, but have been published through the years, long before Disney acquired Lucasfilm, and they tell stories within the actual canon of George Lucas's Star Wars, like The Heir to the Empire and things like that, or Shadow of the Empire. Those are all books you can actually read and so forth that are actually, and some of them aren't bad. But this charge speaks to the fact that Disney Lucasfilm considered them not canon, then they went ahead and ripped off ideas. Matter of fact, next Wednesday starts the new Ahsoka series, which I am looking forward to because I do like Ahsoka. Loved her in the Clone Wars, and believe it or not, I even like Rosario Dawson's representation of her in The Mandalorian in live action. She has her mannerisms down. I felt like I was actually watching Ahsoka. So I'm looking forward to the series. I hope it's not bad. But that series, even though it's based off the Clone Wars, they are going to adapt, from what I understand, the Heir to the Empire EU story, which doesn't make a lot of sense if they don't consider that canon. Why are they using it? Not to mention, the Heir of the Empire was not really dealt with Ahsoka, it dealt with Luke and Ezra Bridger. I think, if I got that stuff right. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've read the Heir of the Empire or anything like that, or even studied it. So maybe somebody else could tell me better. But nevertheless, it's an EU storyline that hopefully maybe it won't be the case. Maybe they'll actually create a real good storyline for Ahsoka, and actually this charge won't be really what's happening in the Ahsoka series. But nevertheless, continuing on. Let's continue watching.
Okay, all right. Well, now look, before we go to the final charge number 9, we are going to go to super chats and comments here.
Oh,
Blackguard 4 for 10. The professionalism in these documents is amazing. And to be clear, for those just listening,
I agree. The professionalism in these documents is amazing. Although I think he's making that tongue in cheek, but nevertheless, I do agree. They have come a long way from what we see right here in the video to what they actually have up on the Google Doc. They have obviously edited it, refined it, and makes it a whole lot better. Because we're right now on charge 8. Charge 8 says right here, the film threat jury, in the name and behalf of the citizens of the fandom of Star Wars, aka the Fandom Menace, charge and accuse Lucasfilm Disney with the offense of blatant misuse of the expanded universe on or about the 30th day of October 2012. Lucasfilm Disney did blatantly misuse the expanded universe, the EU, which had been beloved by fans for decades, by declaring it non-canon and disregarding its rich history of character. This decision showed a lack of respect to for the fans and their investment in the Star Wars universe. I agree completely. Anyway, that's just a charge. Isa says here, aka Tracy Isbell, did you see how he misspelled spelled professionalism? I'd say that's tongue in cheek. Exactly. Yeah, I saw that right here. Professionalism. I think he was actually trying to make fun of the fact that the document at the time of this video live stream was made, that it had a lot of mistakes in it. Obviously, they had gone to great lengths to update it and make it look legit. So, anyway, let's continue on here.
This person, Blackguard 4, is making appreciate Chat GPT. Jason says, sure, if this must get this document cleaned up. It's very important. It's not a Todd, the Mr. Not the complaint. Perhaps before giving off calls for about the murder of Conquest Mall already email sent for clerk of court. Your movie geek of you reach. I don't even know. Does anyone? Your man get literature. So I'm just going to consider, ladies and gentlemen, Vika. A lot of you are suggesting.
Okay. Looks like they
people
go on to the next.
To be on there. To be on.
Who's he drawing down? Does that look like? Who's that look like? Oh, it jumped on me. I was trying to zoom in on it. Okay, there we go. That looks like maybe Ray. Anyway. Okay, we're back to normal size here.
To present either prosecution or defense, we have one final charge.
Could have been Luke, maybe, on Tatooine. I don't know.
Mr. Ng, would you please read this, and hopefully this...
in on it, it looks kind of, I don't know. It's very small. Maybe we'll get lucky and they'll zoom in on him. But it looks like, to me, it looks like possibly Ray. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because Luke didn't have these big bulb things in the back of their head. Which looks like, like a hair bun type thingy. How Ray had her hair turned up. I don't know. Either way, it's cool that he's drawing this stuff.
Not filled with typos, as some of the other previous charges have been. Please read it, sir.
Charge number 9. Lucasfilm is charged with knowingly and maliciously hiring Kennedy, who would make false promises to George Lucas regarding the handling of his franchise. We're referring to talent mismanagement, the hiring of Kathleen Kennedy, negligent mishandling.
At some point, I must have put Kathleen Kennedy's name in the profanity filter, probably because I didn't like to see her name anymore. I don't like her. So, but that's just my personal feeling. I'm still going to give this a chance to look biased, but you can see here clearly that when it's a bad word in the filter, it mutes the audio and replaces it with the word potato. Because I think it's funny to see that when I'm watching like Netflix or YouTube or whatever, and this profanity filter replaces the bad word with the word potato. Anyway, we gotta get serious. This is still court.
Handling of assets, hiring showrunners, John Boyega, that just thrown in there, withholding royalties to the EU authors, including Alan Dean Foster and Timothy Zahn.
Yeah, Timothy.
Yeah,
Zahn's
when
one
you've
that
got just
wrote
the name
Heirs
John
to the
Boyega
Empire.
there, you've got to be more specific in these charges. Not only do I expect the charges to be cleaned up grammatically speaking, I would like some expansion upon these charges just to better explain what someone meant by just put. You can't just say John Boyega.
I know.
All right, let's see what they actually did. Count 9. The film threat jury, in the name and behalf of the citizens of the fandom of Star Wars, charged and accused Lucasfilm Disney with the offense of conspiring with and maliciously hiring activists. On or about the 30th day of October 2012, Lucasfilm Disney did conspire with and maliciously hire activists to promote a certain political agenda within the Star Wars franchise, which resulted in the subversion of the established Star Wars mythos and the alienation of fans who did not share those particular political views. Yeah, in my opinion, completely, take it for what it's worth, I think it just needs to be about a story. Leave the politics or any type of agenda out of it. It should just be about a timeless story. It's a sci-fi opera. It's George Lucas wrote a sci-fi franchise. He did not set out to create some type of political platform. And I think them doing this count, in my opinion, is valid. I think all the counts and charges that they're bringing up are valid. Now, whether or not the court decides, with hearing both sides of the argument here, whether or not these charges are enough to convict Lucasfilm Disney of the murder of Star Wars, we'll find out eventually. But nevertheless, these are the charges. Let's continue on listening a little bit here.
I have no idea why John Boyega is here.
You can't just say, don't make me use my gavel, sir. Okay. All right. And I want to remind people, I want to remind everyone watching that you are a part of the jury. You will determine the verdict in critics' court.
Matter of fact, when this was live, I was actually in the actual verdict live stream watching it, and they put up polls on whether or not we got the vote, whether or not we thought they were guilty or not. I won't tell you what the verdict came out to be. I won't tell you what the polls are. We'll just have to see.
The verdict will come at the end of the trial. The sentencing will also be determined by everyone on the jury. What I'd like to do now is go through final comments before we wrap up court for today. It's shorter proceedings today than we would normally do. Next week, court will be in session. We will have members of the prosecution and defense for the first argument. What's the first charge that we will be arguing next week, Mr. Ng?
Charge 1, fraudulent representation.
If you could share that on screen.
Yes.
That will be next
argument,
week.
The first charge.
This.
Yes. Lucasfilm is charged with fraudulent representation. Lucasfilm knowingly set expectations that the original trilogy cast would reunite in The Force Awakens. Fans were led to believe that Han, Luke, and Leia would reunite.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a major disappointment for me. I was sad not to see all three
comments
together.
and questions as we wrap up court for today. This might take some time. If you have any comments regarding today's proceedings,
really missed their
what you
chance.
think about the charges, and by the way, Mr. Ng, two things need to happen. This document needs to be shared for simply. We're not. Unfortunately, I can't have people editing this document. It will be view only.
Yeah. Yet
So, is it shared?
You look right here. You can request edit access, but I doubt you'll get that. And that's not the point of this. This is actually just the court document that they created for this. You can actually, the link, like I said, is down in the description. It's also on his Film Threat channel. And you can go through this document yourself if you want to see the charges that we're going to be talking about. Next week is the one that we're going to do called Count One. And we'll read that here in a minute.
In the description of this episode?
Not yet. And not only that, we're now requesting that you give me edit access to this document.
Did I not do that, sir?
You did not do that. I just requested it.
Mr. Ng, first of all, I apologize for that. My apologies. My apologies. Just because I am the judge, I am your honor. I am also human. I have just given you edit access to the document. And I would love to do that. Unfortunately, I cannot do that for the more than 1,600 of you that are watching. You will.
By the way, when I watched the Johnny Depp trial, I don't know if anybody else watched that or not. I was fascinated by Johnny Depp and Amber Heard stuff. And there were so many times that they were talking about documents or showing stuff, and certain people had level of access to edit and the court documents, others didn't. So it's perfectly normal for them to do this. We're members of the jury. Jury shouldn't have access to modify court documents. And the only reason why we see them is so that we can totally understand exactly what is happening in the Star Wars on trial, which is, I'm really kind of cool. Glad that they kind of did that. So they points out everything they're going to be discussing in the upcoming weeks ahead when we do this rewatch and Penguin commentary on it. So anyway, continuing on.
You'll be able to view the document. And we'd love to hear your suggestions for changes to this document. We will also publish this document publicly so others can see it. We would like you to see it as well. Let me go through your super chats first. Sorry, sir. Yes.
I'm just saying I have access now. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Moving.
Look what Mr. Blackwood's doing. He is drawing George Lucas. That is clearly George Lucas. Tell by the fro and the beard and the mustache and the glasses. I know it may be hard to tell on a smaller screen, but hopefully maybe they'll zoom in. I can tell right now that is George Lucas.
Moving on, Mr. Ng. And Mr. Blackwood, we could, so next week we will be debating charge number one.
Whoop, back up.
Could, and Mr. Black, debating.
There it is, right there. Looks like he's even wearing a red checkered shirt. You have a huge monitor, but that'll spot it like a 2-inch square. Yeah, I know. But nevertheless, that is cool that he's drawing that, and the judge is addressing Mr. Blackwood right now. So let's see what he says.
We could, so next week we will be debating charge number one. Let's see the progress.
Oh, there we go. It's even better. Yeah, looking at a postage stamp that small. Exactly. I'm glad they kind of zoomed in a little bit here and got rid of the charges on the side. That way we kind of see what he's doing here. That's so cool.
For Mr. Blackwood, I would like to see the progress on these sketches.
There we go, baby. He zoomed in on it. That is George Lucas.
Well, there you are. That looks like Mr. George Lucas. Mr. George Lucas. Excellent. All right. Your comments and questions today. Andrew Montpetit for 5. Will there be a members deliberation live stream?
Yeah, there is. Let's continue on here. I don't want
people who are on the defensive position. It was a trial begins. This is not, you are going anyone that this is taken seriously enough that other channels will live stream our court stream and comment live.
Whoa, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. He's talking about me. We're like what is this? Like going down the rabbit hole thing or something? I didn't even know he's going to mention this. I haven't watched this. So that's why I wanted to do this. I'm ahead of the game. Let's back that up and see what he's saying here.
All right. Mexican Iron Man says, like, subscribe, and share before leaving the court stream. What I hope is that this is taken seriously enough that other channels will live stream our court stream and comment live. Because I expect, while this stream today was short, we're merely introducing the charges, which clearly have to be amended. I would like to see these charges amended as soon as possible, Mr. Ng.
Yes.
Many obvious typos and errors. We will get that fixed, I promise you. But what I promise you going forward, this is going to be treated with the utmost seriousness. I expect everyone that shows up in the courtroom to vigorously debate their side.
That looks like J.J. Abrams. Good old Jar Jar. But I agree completely with the judge, Chris Gore, here. And one of the things I did before streaming this was I reached out via email to Chris Gore at Film Threat and asked permission. I felt like that's what I needed to do. I didn't know if you could do that or not. It's obvious he doesn't care. He just got through saying it. He's hoping this is actually what's happening, that people do this. Now, obviously, I'm not streaming this when this was live, but we're rewatching it, and I'm adding my comments and thoughts to it, and any other comments that the chat may have as well, to the camper chat. Nevertheless, I think it's kind of cool that he wanted this, and I agree with him completely. I'm treating this like when I was watching the Johnny Depp trial, that when the court is going on and they're making the comments and the arguments and the documents and everything, I want to treat it seriously. I want to take it seriously. For one, I want to hear what they actually have to say about all this. I didn't get a chance to watch all this when it was live. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this. And when I contacted Chris Gore, he was all for it. Said, go for it. So which is awesome. Thanks again, Mr. Gore, or Judge Gore, or what Twitter calls Judge Frank Gore. No, I'll call you Chris, though. Anyway, so once again, before we continue on with what's going on here, once again, down in the description, if you want to go and actually see all the videos of the live stream, which you could go watch them ahead of time if you want. They're the Film Threat YouTube channel, as well as filmthreat.com, and a link to this particular video is actually in the description, and I'll have that every week, as well as a link to the actual court documents too. I just think it's kind of cool that I could do this. And that's good old Jar Jar. He's the one that did Force Awakens, and they brought him back to do also the last one, didn't they? Rise of Skywalker. Anyway.
And members of the jury, you're a part of it. You are a part of it.
That's us.
Harry Anders for 100 Swedish krona. Your Honor, Mr. Prosecutor, thank you for this long-awaited and much-needed trial against the travesty that is Star Wars post-1983. We thank you. The people are in support. The Force is with you. Thank you, Harry. Much appreciated.
May the fish be with you. Anyway.
Last 7 minutes, it was that easy.
Here. Oh, look at that. That's Mickey. He's drawing Mickey Mouse. That is just, and that looks like Mickey. Sad state of affairs for the Mouse House. But nevertheless, it looks like Mickey. I can remember when Mickey Mouse meant a lot to me, brought joy to my two goslings, and we had a lot of joy watching Disney flicks and things like that. And it's a sad state of affairs that Disney's is in right now. It really is. It makes my heart ache. Makes this little penguin cry.
Guilty as charged. Long
and
All right, let's continue on.
For you that don't know,
Skip it
for
through
a
the
meetup,
super chats.
much Defender each week. Yes, Defender each week. Now, I would like to have a.
Oh, wait a minute.
Is your courtroom jury? It's very good. We may ask them to return. This is your courtroom jury.
So what he's actually doing is, and I've seen one or two of these live streams, not all of them, when it was going on. He's getting other YouTubers out there come in and be as the prosecution or the defense lawyers. And so they can kind of make their points for both sides. And for what I've seen so far, which was not a lot of this, both sides do have logical arguments. And that's why I want to try to look at this with an open mind and view it objectively and listen to both sides. Even though I know how I feel about things, I'm trying to leave my emotions out of it and just listen to the logic of the arguments.
If a particular prosecutor, defender does very well, you may request that they return. I would like to have a diverse group of people in my courtroom. And by diverse, I mean diversity of ideas. I would like people from all aspects of fandom to join. And what I would like them to do is to debate each other respectfully. Yeah. That is what's going to happen in my courtroom.
I agree.
So that's the goal, Blackguard 4. Having said that, if a particular person does a job that people like, perhaps we'll have that person return.
Cool.
I'm not going to lie. We are kind of making this up as we go along.
Well, that's part of the fun, isn't it?
Again with the smirking from Mr. Ng.
Oh, looky there. Mickey's colored
Loki's
in now.
Mornings of Mischief for $9.99. Can you add the charge of complete ruination of the villains versus if people like this show? Ruins Darian Swedish Coronas as if the Swedish. You see where my mind. I did chat. Charge to add. Thing is up. But I we had
I'm trying to get
David.
through, I don't want to go through the super
Robert,
chats. That's why I'm skipping. So if it sounds bad, that's why.
Attic Hatch Sound, Bob Cola for 5. I submit a Rose Tico action figure. He mentioned being interested come to an American citizen. Up, we lost.
This is the people that are watching that are giving chat right now. Okay, let's see what he's.
Let's do this.
Looks like they changed what they're doing now.
Up, we lost Mr. Blackwood. Go right there. Let's do this. Continuing with your comments here, Mr. Blackwood may have had a technical issue. Here he's
no,
back.
Not the artist. Oh, there he is. He's
Let's
back.
keep this going here. Ken Bogan.
Yeah, it looks like he maybe lost power or something. Because I don't remember that tablet being plugged in. Nevertheless, anyway, that's kind of cool.
This is for threat level 2. Has been a member for 9 months. Says 9 months as a member. Hope
it would be 16.
All my needs as agree. Star Wars Waller would be a witness for the have. Please follow us. Please also hashtag film threat. Hashtag film threat critics court. Hashtag critics court. I want to read here. Wait a second. Some of these suggestions. Some people say Star Wars girl. That Star Wars girl. Mike Zero. Critical drinker. Mahler. Disparate. Nerdrotic. Legal Eagle on the opposing side of Ricada. Theory is.
Yeah, there's a. I don't know if you've heard about this or not, but there is a group of YouTubers that are under what they call the Law Tube, which is just a term for YouTubers that are actually lawyers. I know Legal Eagle's one of the channels. I haven't really watched his stuff. Nick Ricada, I have watched some of his because he was actually streaming the Johnny Depp trial. So I watched it. Not all the time, but I watched it periodically enough to see it. I did that because I wanted to see the actual comment from an actual lawyer on what they actually thought was happening in the legal proceedings and so forth. Now, once again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a simple little geeky penguin, a Star Wars penguin. And I'll just give you what I think, but it ain't going to be law advice, so don't take it as such. And this is also a mock trial anyway. So, anyway, continuing on.
Is the special prosecutor, Star Wars Explained. Thank you for these comments.
That'd be a good one.
Unlimited and Robot Head.
I like him as
Thank
a YouTuber.
you for that. All right. Let's get this, Alan, in the banners for this. Make sure that we have this. I want to say thank you to our producer, Glanuccio. I want to say thank you to our moderator, Ms. P. Coffee, and to all the other mods out there. I even want to say thank you to Mr. Ng. I appreciate that you wore. Is that what kind of tie is that, sir?
That would be. That'd
What
be
tie?
It would be a silk tie, Your Honor.
What's on the tie? If you could stand up and show us, please.
So cool.
Oh, it would be Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh.
Mr. Ng, it's important to me that we take the proceedings very seriously. I'm not sure that a Winnie the Pooh tie is appropriate, but you're welcome to have.
Yes, well, I will remove the poo off my tie.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, that's a bad pun.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Also, Mr. Blackwood PDX, thank you for your sketches. What is if you could show off some of the sketches that you've done today in our
here
court,
we go.
Mr. Blackwood. I saw that George
done.
Lucas was there. I see Ray.
That's Ray. That's the
And
one we
all
were
of
looking at
those
earlier.
can be seen. If you could put up that banner at the bottom. Follow Mr. Blackwood on Instagram. Blackwood. What is that, Alan? Mr.
There's Lando.
We need to put these all in the critics'
We need to
court.
organize these things better.
There's Kathleen, what's her face? Potato Candy.
Banners. Well, make sure you do that next week.
Yes.
Here we go. Courtroom sketches by Todd Blackwood. BlackwoodPDX.com at Blackwood_PDX. We appreciate that. What does this say? What does that say?
I'll go ahead and I'll update the description on this to include BlackwoodPDX.com for the courtroom sketches, so we can actually go check him. I'm going to go check out his site. Actually, let's do that right now. Wow. Look at some of this art. There's Daredevil, Batman, Mr. Freeze, Cyclops. I think that's Colossus. It's just way cool. And more. Oh, that's Elektra, I think. Wow. I didn't mean to click on a full screen, but look at some of these, man. Batgirl dressed as Robin? Maybe, I don't know, Batman and Robin? Nightwing. He's one of my all-time favorite DC characters. I love Nightwing. Wolverine? Whoa, he looks weird. Was that Storm back there? That looked like Storm. He is just phenomenal. And that is Psylocke, I think. Captain America. Steve Rogers. That's Mr. Universe, I think. Is that looks like Owlman, maybe. I don't know. Supergirl. Wow, he's got a lot of them. That's on BlackwoodPDX.com. So if you get a chance, check that out. I'll put a link of that in the description after I get off here. So anyway, let's continue on with what he was doing here.
Blackwood. That ends today's proceedings.
JJ.
I want to thank the members of our jury. Oh, wait. Robert Meyer Burnett would be good for the prosecution. X-Wing
Ooh.
would be good for the defense, says Nick at Echo Base Network. Nick, are you interested in participating in this trial?
Although, Echo Base Network might not be bad either. But Robert Meyer Burnett, I kind of think of him more not with Star Wars, but Star Trek. But maybe he might be good for Star Wars too. I don't know for this trial. I don't know who's. I haven't looked in the description on the videos and stuff to see if they even list that. But as we watch it, we'll figure out who they're going to bring in for the prosecution and for the defense each week.
We have 9 arguments. Please, you can contact me by email. I will share the document. You need to pick a charge to debate. We're going to take this very seriously. You'll have between 30 to 60 minutes to present, another 30 to 60 minutes for the defense, and then there'll be another 30 to 60 minutes for open debate that involves our jury.
Cool.
I want to thank the members of the jury today.
That's actually how things are going to go.
Mr. Ng, any final words? Have I missed anything?
I believe you have everything. We are very excited and anticipating the proceedings next week.
Okay. That ends courtroom. That ends the court for today. I want to thank my producer, Glanuccio, who did a fantastic job. Nick, Echo Base Network for 198. Yes, I'm interested as well. Thank you. I would think that on Echo Base
Cool.
Network, you would be live streaming this and commenting during the case, just as you would
He's a
any
Star
other
Wars
court case.
YouTuber, Echo Base Network.
And to be clear, I take this very seriously. I think that people that disagree with each other should talk to each other rather than yell at each other on social media. This is an opportunity for us to
Nothing
engage
wrong
with
to
each
have
other
a nice, healthy
on a
debate. We
live
can always
stream.
agree,
People who
disagree.
disagree. Thank you, Nick at Echo Base Network. You provided me hours
We all
of
don't
entertainment,
have to be the same. We all
and I
have to be
appreciate
in the
you.
same cookie cutter mold.
Is this all for today, sir?
Yes. And I should also remind everyone that we are on Rumble, and I want to thank for everyone who's been chatting there.
Okay, thank you for that. Court is dismissed. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great rest of your afternoon. Be ready for Critics Court next week, 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Court will be in session.
Well, in my case, this rewatch court will be back in session for me at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time next Wednesday. Same bat time, same bat penguin channel. And my plan is to go about at least maybe 2 hours on each time. So if we don't get through it, then we just continue where we picked up and left off the next following week. Obviously, this week is a little bit lesser than that. We're going to be obviously under the 2-hour mark because I've paused quite a bit and explained what's going on and so forth. But nevertheless, that's the plan here. And we'll do it as many times as we can. I really want to watch the rest of all this, and I thought the best way to do that is just to live stream the rewatches. I've got permission from the judge there and just give my thoughts on it. So hopefully everybody will tune in and watch.
First arguments will be debated. Be prepared. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Court dismissed.
Court is dismissed. Okay, we don't have to watch that. All right. Before we do that, let's remind everybody what Penguin Thoughts really is.
You're listening to Penguin Thoughts. These are the thoughts that penguins are thinking when they were thinking that they were thinking about the thoughts they were thinking when they were thinking them. That is, we think.
One little, two little, three little penguins. Yes. Before I end this stream, I thought I'd just go over and read the actual 9 counts again. Once again, this document that they created, the link is in the description, so you can look at it for yourself at a later point. This is for docket 1138, the Fandom Judicial Court or Critics Court on Film Threat. Indictment. The Film Threat jury, in the name and on behalf of the citizens of the fandom of Star Wars, charges and accuses Lucasfilm Disney with the offense of murder of the Star Wars franchise. On or about 30th day of October 12th, Lucasfilm Disney did neglectfully and unethically cause the slow death of the Star Wars franchise by beginning to produce a substandard product contrary to the quality of previous iterations of the franchise. And there are 9 counts they list here. And I'm going to go through brief. I'm going to read all of this, but I'm just going to read what they are. Count 1 is the fraudulent misrepresentation that Lucasfilm and Disney made promises that they didn't keep, about keeping like Han, Luke, and Leia. We were going to see them originally. That was actually, I remember them, there was rumors out there. They were actually telling us as fans before the sequel trilogy came out that we would see Han, Luke, and Leia. We were promised a reunion of them, and it just never happened, which is really sad because now Carrie Fisher has left us. Rip Carrie Fisher. Not granted they could digitally recreate her, but it's not the same as unless you're actually having the real actor there, the real person. So, anyway, count 2 was a fraudulent misuse of canon. Basically, it's the unethically and fraudulent use of canon to change the mythology of Star Wars in order to change the whole narrative to like stating that good old Potato Candy was saying that the Force is female. Which George Lucas never said that. He never said it was male or female. He said the Force was a good or bad evil out there. I mean, good or evil force out there that binds and connects everything. Didn't list that it had a gender. Anyway, count 3 was a negligent handling of management of the Star Wars franchise, failure to properly plan out the story, decanonization of the EU, and various different things. Count number 4 that they're being charged with is the malicious introduction of current day politics. Instead of telling a good story, they are injecting their political woke agenda, the SJW agenda, their platform, and Star Wars may have had a message, but it was never truly pushing a political ideology like what Disney Lucasfilm is. Count 5 is the offense of demystifying lore, flagrant disregard and dismystification of elements contained within Star Wars, like Lando's robot obsession, or Solo's last name, the Falcon's computer, things that were actually originally what considered to be Star Wars. I mean, what I know about Lando and what I thought Lando, for example, he was not chasing after robots. He was interested in women. Matter of fact, the first time he came across Leia, he stopped what he was doing, comes over to her, grabs her hand, gives her a kiss, says, "Hello." Can you say Lando was the OG player? Yes, he was. And Lucasfilm changed that. Disney Lucasfilm changed that. Anyway, count 6. Blatant disregard and threatening of the fans. I saw that, and I still see that out there, like on Twitter and other things, attacking anybody that does not fit Disney Lucasfilm's narrative. And that's what they're talking about here. Count number 7, negligent misuse of legacy characters. In other words, changing how they were or who they are. Like we saw Luke Skywalker as a beat-up, downtrodden old man that's crotchety and just went off drinking blue milk. That's not who Luke was. The end of Mandalorian Season 2 had the return of what we know as Luke Skywalker. That was awesome. And they turned around in Boba Fett and kind of made him kind of a bad guy, making Grogu make a decision between going back to Mando or starting to be a Jedi. That's just the misuse of legacy characters. That's not something Luke would be doing. Anyway, that's just my thoughts. It doesn't mean I'm right. Just my opinion. Count number 8, blatant misuse of the EU or the expanded universe, declaring it non-canon, then turning around using the content in it, like the Heir of the Empire. And then lastly, count 9 is conspiring with and maliciously hiring activists, political activists, to actually push their agenda, to push the message that Potato Kennedy once pushed. I'm going to start calling her Potato Kennedy instead of Kathleen Kennedy. Potato Kennedy. Thank you, Filter. That's really funny. Potato Kennedy. Good old PK. Anyway, those are the 9 counts. And we will be back hopefully next week at the same Bat Penguin channel, same Bat Penguin time, 2:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to start day 1. Actually, this was day 1 of the court proceedings. But we're going to start the actual arguments of count 1 next week. And be going through that and watching that video and talking about it. And so feel free that if you have any type of this point you want to make or discussion or comment, I don't discourage those. You are completely 100% allowed to have your opinion. And it may not even be the same opinion I have, and that's fine too. Matter of fact, I've always been said that that's great. That if you love all the stuff that Disney Lucasfilm has been doing with Star Wars and you enjoy it, that's great. There's been some things I do enjoy, like I did enjoy Mandalorian Season 1 and Season 2, especially the end of Season 2. And I am looking forward to the Ahsoka series, but it doesn't mean that I like everything that they did. Matter of fact, some of the stuff I really don't care for. I don't like the sequel trilogy movies at all. Force Awakens was okay, but that's because it was kind of like a JJ reboot of A New Hope. But it just kind of went downhill from there, in my opinion. It was not what I consider to be what I think is Star Wars. Now, you may have a different opinion, and you may actually like I said, the new stuff, and that's fine. That's great. I'm glad you enjoy it. Awesome. Keep it up. We like what we like at the end of the day. But this is to have a open discussion and just to see both sides of the argument here in a court setting. And that's why I'm doing all this. So I would love for you to possibly like and subscribe to my channel if you see this and you're rewatching it, or if you're watching it now. Star Wars needs more sparkly vampires. Man, I hope not. I know you're joking. I know you're joking. Oh, man. But it would not surprise me. Maybe Chewbacca turns into a sparkly vampire. My youngest Gosling would not be happy about that. He likes Chewbacca. That would be bad. Anyway, and messy. A lot of fur flying everywhere. Please, I encourage you to leave a comment in the comments down below. Look through the description where all the links are. If you want to go check out the Film Threat channel, you can. You can also pull up the Google court documents. That link's down there as well. And I'm going to add the link to Blackwood, the court artist's website in there as well. So you can actually go check out his stuff too. Because I'm really liking that court artist. He's good. Man, that's one of the best parts about this. We'll see throughout the rewatching of all this to see how things go with him and see if he gets better or gets worse. Hopefully he gets better. Anyway, nevertheless, I'm going to call it here. I know we're about the 2-hour mark almost. And as always, I am the geeky Star Wars little penguin named WhataboutBob. And I'm going to get my lightsaber and make a door out over here because the door out of this room is actually locked. And I'm going to cut through it like they did in Phantom Menace. That was really cool when Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan did that with the 2 lightsabers to cut through that door. That was so cool. Anyway, I hope you come back. I hope you watch this. If not, if you didn't like anything I'm doing here, that's fine too. I thank you for your time, and I will catch you all later. Peace.